Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Sports Central. I'm Neal Duncan. We've got a great show lined up for you today. We're going to talk with Kris Smith about disc golf right here in Polk County and Dr. Michelle Henne to talk sports medicine. Stick around, everybody, for this week's edition of Sports Central. Everybody, welcome back to Sports Central. I'm Neal Duncan alongside Hank Longo. And
hello, everybody. Hello, Mr. Duncan.
It's warm outside.
Yes, it is.
It's been pretty warm outside, but that's okay because we live in a beautiful state, beautiful weather, and some of that fall weather hopefully is right around the corner. And as you get into the fall and into the winter, that becomes basketball season, which, segue, Lakeland Magic, a great partner of Tourism and Sports Marketing, and they are the segment sponsor for this first segment of Sports Central.
Well, great to be back. Kind of been gone for a couple of shows, and fun to be back on the air again.
We got a lot of fan mail on that.
Yeah. Where's Hank? We're missing him.
That's not what we got, actually. But
where'd he go? We're missing him on the show.
We're glad to have you back, and we always have a good time here on Sports Central. And speaking of good time, getting outside. Our open spaces, we've always talked about in Polk County how we have great natural spaces, and it is a great time. One of those things that you may not have heard about is disc golf. It's a great sport. I know I used to play back in college, and we've got some great courses here. And in this first segment, we're going to bring on Kris Smith. He's with Eagles Wings Disc Golf. And Kris, welcome to Sports Central.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And tell us, we're going to do this in two parts.
Okay.
The first part is, what is Eagles Wings Disc Golf? And then we'll get into what disc golf itself is.
Sure, yeah. So Eagles Wings Disc Golf is a Christian nonprofit organization that tries to serve the disc golf community. It is, I'll take some notes here from our director, our Southeast Regional Director here. It has multiple regions across the U.S., including in the Southeast, which is who I deal with. The director's name is, for the Southeast region, is Zachary Smith. I've been very involved with him. We have chapel services at tournaments. We host youth events, youth tournaments. It also has an international division with starting courses in Zambia, in Africa, and then in Costa Rica as well. Just trying to kind of serve the disc golf community.
So there's a mission behind it. But let's disc golf. What is disc golf
Sure.
for someone at home that has no idea what it is?
Yeah, so disc golf is, I don't know if this is still true, but they used to, in the last couple of years, they always say the fastest growing sport. It's played very similarly to traditional, what we would call ball golf, right, or traditional golf. We prefer not the term of real golf, but anyways, that's, just kind of local talk. But it's essentially played with a frisbee. I should have brought some in, but a small frisbee, generally a little bit more dense than kind of your traditional frisbee. And
hold on for just 1 second.
Sure.
There, because I got to jump in on this because this is fun. The frisbee doesn't really, they're a frisbee, but when you look at these people playing the game, they've got a golf cart, basically, like they're carrying golf
carts.
Well,
yeah, you can. Our viewers at home, you can see some of the footage of those golf carts right there.
They've got all kinds of discs. So they've got a disc that's like your driver that you use off the tee, and then they've got discs for 150 out, or your putting disc. So it's really fascinating how sophisticated it is, because you're just not throwing one disc, you're throwing all these different size discs.
Right, so depending on the density essentially of the width of the disc, the more aerodynamic, the thinner it's going to be, generally the farther it's going to fly. So those would be kind of what we'd consider your distance drivers, as opposed to a putter, which is going to be a lot thicker profile and going to not fly as far, but fly kind of
more accurate to control.
Exactly, a little more like your traditional frisbee. So most of the holes, we have two courses in Polk County. Most of the holes will be somewhere between kind of where traditional golf has yards. We're playing more in the feet range. So anywhere between 200 feet to 400 feet is kind of a traditional par 3, and then as you go from there, you get par 4s and par 5s. So again, it's a sport where you would tee off from a tee, trying to get the disc into a basket. I'm sure as some of the shots there showed, that's a metal contraption that has a basket with chains hanging down around it, and you're just trying to get from the tee into the basket in as few of shots as possible.
Just like regular golf.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, let's talk about. Obviously, this will be a sport for everyone. You know, you can go out there and with COVID-19 right now and social distancing and getting out and being active, this is a sport that lends itself to that. But if you look at it as compared to, and I don't remember what terminology you're using,
sure.
Ball golf,
right, yeah.
traditional golf, if
Sure.
you will. I'm assuming, because depending on your swing, you can hook it, you can slice it, you can hit it 300 yards, you can be like Hank and hit it 30 yards.
Right.
Yeah, and still end up in the woods.
That's
too.
right.
You can
Yeah.
still end up in the woods.
So I'm sure there's technique, there's form, there's all those things. Tell us what, you're not just throwing, as Hank said, you're not just throwing the Frisbee around in the backyard.
No. Right.
So talk to us a little bit about the development or the skill, if you will, because I find myself wanting to say regular golf. I'll try not to say that.
I'm not
traditional
offended at all.
golf.
Yes, no.
There's lessons, there's different things that as you're developing your game, you can either develop in a good way or a bad way. Talk about it when it comes to throwing the Frisbee with the driver, with the putter and all
Sure.
that.
Yeah, so again, you have two kind of traditional throws. One that is considered what's called backhand. So you're pulling it kind of as you would throw, again, kind of a traditional Frisbee.
Right.
That's going to be where you get most of the power. Because of the spin of the disc, that one will almost always, and they're depending on the disc, but almost always finish to the left. Mm-hmm. Again, depending on the way that you manipulate the disc, release the disc,
so
the
you
angle.
got to kind of play it that it's going to the left.
Right, and again, certain discs will fly a little more straight. Certain ones will hook more to the left. And then the other throw would be considered what's called a flick, and so that's a little more. We call that forehand because you're leading with kind of the pinky side of your hand. And so that would cause the disc for the rotation of the disc go in the opposite direction. So that tends to land more to the right as it finishes.
So how do you get to throw a disc like that?
Yeah, it's a lot.
I mean, are you holding onto it and just flicking your wrist?
I'm very sad that I forgot my disc in the car. But yeah, essentially you're holding on to the rim because there's a rim around the bottom. You're going to be holding on to the rim, and then it's really just kind of popping it out, almost like you're snapping a whip.
Wow.
Just flicking it out there.
And do you do that for a short shot or?
I can't throw that as far. So when I throw backhand, I'm kind of maxing out near about 400 feet.
Wow.
So 130 yards or so. But when you're talking flick, I'm probably maxing out about 300 feet for that. So that one's more of a utility shot for me. I don't feel as comfortable with it as I do with the backhand. But
okay.
Yeah, I'll still use that off certain holes where in disc golf we utilize a lot of angles and much less of the just long traditional kind of open. We have a lot going through the woods and running through different areas.
I did what is the name of the course that's way out like by Mulberry, I think?
Yeah, so
way out in that neck of the woods, and I went out there and did a show on it probably a year ago or so, and I got to witness it for the first time.
Right.
And you're in the woods.
Oh yes.
I mean, you're just not on a golf course that's that's open and you have all this wide space. I mean, you're going through these narrow fairways that have woods on both sides, and you're actually more in the woods than you're out of the woods.
Well, you should feel at home because I've seen you play traditional golf, and you spend all your time there anyways,
and that's
right?
why I'm so good coming
That's
out
right.
of the woods, because I'm in the woods so much. I have some
Get a lot
great
of practice.
technique coming off a tree root and stuff like that. But it's really, not only are you having fun playing the game, but just to be out in the woods and nature.
It is.
It's so beautiful. I mean, because it's so quiet.
It is, yeah.
You don't have any noise out there except, from the atmosphere itself. So
Right.
it's kind of a 2-in-1. You get to go cruise through the woods and hike around and play a game is on top of it.
Exactly. Yeah, and our big draw is definitely the cost versus what we would, cost of traditional golf. Once you get the disc, once you get those Frisbees, you're pretty much set. Most courses in the state are free to play.
Really?
Yep. So the two parks that we have in Polk County are at as the one you were talking about in Mulberry at Carter Road, what used to be Carter Road, now Lois Hart Park.
Yeah,
and the course there is called Hidden Oaks. That one went in the ground a year and a half ago or so. And that one's a little bit shorter. It's a little more beginner friendly, although we are getting some alternate placements in there that are really helping to kind of make it a little bit more challenging. Mm-hmm. So that's the one that was the first one that went in Lakeland, or in the Lakeland area. And then the newest one is at Holloway Park, which is kind of at the intersection of Edgewood and Bartow Road. And that one is really top of the line, advanced level, very challenging, not for your beginners for sure. Lots of difficult rough, but just plays through both of them. Just play through beautiful parks. If you haven't been to either of those parks, I would suggest just going out and even checking out the parks.
Yeah, it's just gorgeous to be out there.
Amazing. A lot of them are going to be for the Holloway. It's going to be, like I said, a lot more challenging. You will have your par 4s and 5s out there, versus Holloway is going to be pretty much exclusively par 3s and, like I said, a little more beginner friendly. So.
Well, we've kind of been talking about it as a recreational sport up to this point in the conversation, but there's also competitive events as well. And I know recently there was, when you talk about Holloway Park opening up and more of a difficult course, so there's different levels of courses across the country and internationally. Talk about the competitive events and kind of what those look like.
Sure, yeah. So tournaments are a big thing. The Professional Disc Golf Tournament, PDGA, hosts and sanctions tournaments throughout the year. We just had our first tournament at Holloway Park after the opening, kind of just kind of an introduction to the course. And Zach Smith with Eagles Wings, he hosted that tournament with myself. And so essentially you have anywhere from different divisions depending on your skill level and however long you've been playing. So anywhere from recreational level players to professional level players. And so I've been playing, just to kind of compare, I've been playing in the professional division for like 8 years or so.
Wow.
But not enough to make a living or do a tour or anything like that, versus you will have your probably, top 100 pros that go around and tour around the country and are able to at least make mostly a living off of that. And your top level, they make a fairly good living playing tournaments and through sponsorships. And so a lot of different varieties there. And then, so the tournaments, just one that I do want to mention before I forget here. With Eagles Wings, we're having a junior tournament. So if that's something where, even if you haven't played very much or have any children that are interested in playing, that's on December 5th this upcoming year. So something that is a great way to get involved. That tournament especially is one where we, a lot of different prizes, a lot of fun for the kids. Anybody under the age of 18 can enter. And just it's a great way to kind of.
You've got age groups that they
exactly. Yes, sir. Yeah. So we have different under 11, under 13, and et cetera. But so it's just a great way to kind of get involved and stay active is a lot of way that people approach it, and super fun. It can be stressful just as golf, but when you're out there playing, and it's so much fun. So yeah.
Yeah, I know I've lost a couple of clubs in the lake.
Yeah.
Why did I just throw that club in the lake?
Right.
I'm sure a few discs have
Oh
found
yes,
some water.
yes, that is very frustrating.
So now, what you're over in Zambia though. Talk about that. How
Sure.
did that happen?
I'm not exactly sure how it originally got started, but for the last 3 or 4 years at least, they've been going over there. Essentially with machetes, they're creating courses. Cutting paths for the fairways and everything, and being able to go over there and create a course. They actually employ 3 of the locals over there, the Zambians, and who work with Eagles Wings and kind of upkeep the course and are able to kind of spread the Eagles Wings kind of message and everything over there. So it's that's one where
you get the ministry involved with. Along with them playing.
Exactly, and so it's a great outlet for them as well. Getting to do something proactive and something that's active as well. So it's a great time for them out there.
Well, as we circle back, talking about Lois Hart Park and Holloway Park, both having courses here in Polk County, availability to play recreationally, and then if somebody's trying to get into the sport, is there a local club or is there a group that a website they should reach out to?
Sure, yeah.
Because you don't want to just, like traditional golf, you don't want to go out and buy $1,000 set of clubs.
Yeah. And end up having
And not like
on the
it.
lake.
Yeah, exactly right. So where can they get more information? Where can they find out about clubs? All those
Sure,
things.
yeah. So the first one I just got to mention is the eagleswingsdiscgolf.com, .org. And then on the Facebook page and Instagram page for any of that information about the junior tournament and all of that. For just general interest, we have 2 Facebook pages for the local kind of clubs. So the Lois Harp Disc Golf page, again, just searching Lois Harp Disc Golf on Facebook, I should say, Facebook page for all of those. And then Holloway Disc Golf Facebook page. If anyone posts on there, you can just say, hey, I'm going out at this time and I'm a beginner, I need help learning how to play. Generally, people will be friendly and give their discs and kind of give tons of advice there. As far as getting into the sport, if you need to get some discs, we do have a local bike store, Leroy's Bike Shop, which is just down the street from Lois Harp. So you can go in there and get some discs. Leroy knows about the discs, so he can kind of give you some info on what to buy and everything. But yeah, it's one of those things where if you start and you just start with a putter, you can go out there and have a great time.
You might take a few more shots, but
well,
you'll get the feel
and honestly, the funny thing is at the beginning, you probably, until you kind of figure out the skill of everything, you can throw a putter as far as you can throw a driver. So
it's like basketball. You know, you go out there and play basketball first time, you don't need to be shooting threes.
Exactly.
You need to be doing layups
Layups.
and set up the fundamentals.
Right.
I would assume it's the same thing.
100%. Yeah. So learning how to throw a putter is often how people suggest kind of starting before you try and get out there and try and throw a driver, because they're just a lot different to control.
And I'm sure they're all over the place.
They are, and then losing it is one of those most frustrating things. So if you throw a putter and you can kind of control it a little bit more.
So like the cost, I mean, just
sure,
typical basic stuff.
Average cost of a disc, like a entry level disc, is anywhere $8 to $10.
Okay.
As you get a little bit more what we would call premium plastic, that's going to have a little bit longer life to the plastic. That's going to be upwards of $15 to $20. But again, as you first start, you can get
need a putter.
And they actually have starter packs at stores, or again, you could go into Leroy's or Play It Again or a lot of stores, and they'll kind of show you.
Like the Sports and those sports have them.
Okay. Yeah.
And is there a charge when you go to like Holloway Park, or is there a fee when you go to Lois Harp Park to utilize the course?
Right. So Lois Harp is a public, I guess, a county park.
Yeah.
So free to play.
Well, and to your point, it's the congratulations and great vision by the Polk County Board of County Commissioners for adding this through Leisure Services, Parks Recreation.
Yeah, Tracy.
Adding it, yeah.
Yeah, Tracy did a great job with that, kind of just approaching us. When I first moved to Lakeland, we had 0 disc golf courses in the county, and I was like, all right, I might have to move here. Move out of here.
Move out of here.
Yes, move out of Polk County. But we got that in, and so yeah, thanks to Tracy for that, and Mr. Holloway for allowing us to use his property, and for the funding, and so yeah, we've had a great time with it, and so.
That's fantastic, and the fact that we have just, we started it off talking about the natural resources here, the open spaces, and this is just adding to that inventory of things here in Polk County.
Out of the house with something to do.
Well, Kris, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time, and we'll have to have you back on Sports Central to talk about some of these events, and we certainly know it's been challenging with COVID-19 and everything, but this is one of those sports that you can go out and socially distance and play. So good luck 100%. To you, and thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, this past year, what?
I know you'd be social distancing because you'd be way out over there and then way over there.
Listen, I'll tell you the funny thing. Every time he kept saying throwing the putter, I'm like, well, Hank's got that covered, because I've seen you throw your putter in traditional golf at least a half a dozen times around. But stop. Let me throw the break here.
Okay. Sorry.
You done? Are you
done? I'm done. Sorry, I got out of hand.
You just don't know how to.
Jail
it's a lot to handle, this guy over here. In 2019, the Czech Republic national softball team came to Polk County to do some training, and they took on Southeastern University in an exhibition. We're going to take a look at some of that footage. Hank and Neal will be right back here on Sports Central.
Well, for us, coming from a winter, we got 10 centimeters of snow, so it's a huge opportunity to start the season, you know, so Florida is giving us the great, you know, environment and nice people here, and we love to come here because it gives us what we need before the season starts back at home.
Very excited for today's game. We all are. We've been talking about it for a couple days now. It's really exciting to play somebody that's like, you know, not from here, so maybe we get a little bit more culture in the game and stuff like that.
I think just being here in Central Florida gives you an opportunity for them teams are either coming here, they're coming to California, and I'm pretty excited to get my first opportunity at it. I think that it's really helped the team in the past. They've done it early spring, and I think it's kind of bounced them towards a good conference run once all that gets taken care of.
Well, it's not the first time we've been here, it's like the third time already, so I think we're getting used to it like quicker and quicker every time we go here. But I like it, the weather is nice, and especially when we have winter in our country right now, so it gives us the possibility to go on the field and play ball again, so it's amazing. Oh, it's been amazing. I love it. And I've been able to travel along the world with the Czech national team, and we've been playing some good ball, so it's amazing.
Like, we're really excited to come out here and show what we can do, but we're also excited to learn from other people, some people that have been in the game longer than we have. So that's really exciting. We get to learn a lot more about softball, not just play it. So.
Well, we've been in Canada, I've been in Toronto, Vancouver, then I've been playing in New Zealand, I've been playing in Taiwan, and we've also been around all Europe basically, and yeah, that's about it.
Well, the people here are doing a great job, you know, especially here in Polk County. I like it so much, you know. We have a great support here, and you know, we like everything. Fields are great, you know, people awesome, you know. The other teams, you know, are willing to play us, and we love the whole, you know, thing, so it's great.
Right, yeah, I mean, that's what your whole non-conference scheduling is. It's to see what your girls have against good competition, and you're able to work out those kinks before you get into those games. The conference tournament games, those are the ones that count. You know, you're trying to set yourself up for the tournament and ultimately win that tournament at the end of the year to go on to the opening round in the NAIA.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Sports Central. Neal, Duncan alongside Hank Longo, and some great softball action there from Southeastern University. Of course, that was last year in 2019. But this second segment brought to us by Extended Stay America, great partners of tourism and sports marketing. We appreciate them. Disc golf. So you did a package?
I did a package on it. It was probably like a year ago or so, and it was fascinating. I mean, I really could see where people would enjoy it, you know. And when the people I were filming actually were there practicing for a tournament. So they had these bags that were just, they must have had 15, 20 discs on them, and you know, I mean, they really take it seriously, and to watch them throw and going through the woods, it's neat.
Well, and sports has such a positive impact. I mean, study after study has shown it. Grades are better. Physically, you don't have to do everything, but just do something, and maybe that is something that.
And it's free, you know. I mean, for
right.
such a small investment, you know, you maybe have $20 into it, and you've got a new sport that you can get engaged in.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of sports and sports medicine, so if you get hurt playing disc golf or
elbow out
or going for a run or something like that, or if you're hanged just getting up in the morning, you need to go to Winter Haven. You need to talk to Dr. Michelle Henne from Releve Sports Medicine. I got it right, didn't I?
And Neal, what does releve mean? What is?
It is actually as you're dancing. If you're in the sport of dancing or your competition, it's when you go up on your toes and you twirl around. And okay, that's all. Is that even close to being right?
I feel like you studied this.
He's a doctor of releve.
He is an expert.
He knows all the techniques.
Full disclosure, Dr. Henne told me about 30 seconds before we came back on what that meant. I didn't know, but thank you. Welcome back to Sports Central.
You know, I wasn't going to say it.
Hey, honesty is a good policy, right? Well, there's so many things to talk about, and again, welcome back to Sports Central. You've been on numerous times, and we always appreciate your time. But I want to, in fact, if you have time, I'd love to keep you for 2 segments. I think we've talked about that in the past. There was so much information. We'll just keep you for 2. So if you have time today, we'll do that. But let's talk about return to play. There's so much going on right now, not just in Polk County, not in the state of Florida, across the U.S. and internationally. Obviously, we're talking about the coronavirus and COVID-19. So talk to us a little bit about what you have seen recently, the return to play, all those things, because all 3 of us know, as we said a few minutes ago, sports are very important for so many reasons. Talk to us about return to play.
Absolutely. So there's a huge difference between return to life, and that's what everybody likes to quote. That's what everybody likes to talk about when we talk about CDC recommendations. There's return to life where you're saying, I'm no longer contagious, I'm no longer going to affect the public health, and return to play, which means I'm going to go 100%, I'm going to go at my maximum intensity, and I'm going to go and exert myself. I'm going to use my heart and my lung systems to their maximum extent, and I'm going to do that safely. So the difference here is that for those people who have had COVID, and you know, realistically nowadays, most people know somebody, right? If you haven't had it yourself, most people know a few people who have had it.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to return to play, when it comes to returning to sports, the capacities, what is needed is different. So you do have to have a well-functioning heart and lung system. What does that mean? We know that those are the areas that can be impacted. And this isn't new, right? This isn't new, especially in the sports medicine world. People get mono all the time. People get strep all the time. You have GI illnesses. And
you gotta have a long enough time to heal from them, just not to be safe, but you go to compete, you're going up to another level where you're exerting yourself more than if you're just feeling well and you go about your day and you're not competing in anything, you're just living your day. Whereas when you get into sports, you're living your day, but now you're going to practice and you're going to go, you know, really exert yourself as much as you can because you're an athlete. That's what you do.
Exactly. Yeah. So it is. You're asking your body to do more things than sit here and talk on a TV show. So
are there similarities between, like you said, the mono and those things to COVID? I mean, is there some similarity in the effects or how you cure them, or?
Yeah. So in terms mono actually the biggest concern there is the spleen. And so there's a risk of splenic rupture. In terms of COVID, the biggest concern is related to the heart. And what we're seeing now, they came out with a recent article. It's in a journal called JAMA, which is a very well-known article in medicine. And in this article, they were looking at the challenge is always trying to find things that relate to sports. And this particular article was with 100 people. Their average age was around 50 or 55. So they were a little bit older.
Don't go
What
there.
are you looking at me for?
Because you're usually going to say
Not
something
even in the
like-
neighborhood like someone else.
I
Sorry,
was
Doc.
just expecting, oh boy, he's way overdue.
Sorry, Doctor. He gets sidetracked. Go ahead, please.
Not a problem, not a problem, yeah. So interestingly enough, in this article, they had 100 people that had COVID. A third of them were hospitalized, but most of them were not. And afterwards, they went and evaluated all of them, and 60 to 70% of them actually showed signs of inflammation of their heart muscle. So the heart is a muscle, and a muscle is comprised of cells. Cells can become inflamed, and in the technical terms, we call that myo for muscle, card for heart, and itis for inflammation. So these people can get myocarditis. And the concern there is those who have underlying myocarditis, they are at higher risk of having a very significant heart injury when they return to sport. So at this
They got to
point,
monitor that pretty closely.
you definitely, you're trying to discern who has it and who doesn't. In this study, there was a significant amount of people that did have it. When there's some preliminary research out that it's data right now, it has not been published yet, but they were talking about it today actually. Ohio State has a sports cardiologist, and they were looking at all of those athletes that had COVID over the summer and are coming back, and very likely led into some of their discussions. I'm not involved with their discussions, but I suspect that it did. And what they found was that these are young athletes, right? These are people in the collegiate age group, and these people had COVID, and very likely, as we know, they were likely very asymptomatic or minimally symptomatic. They had cold-like symptoms. Maybe they lost their taste and smell and that kind of stuff. But 15% of them demonstrated that they had inflammation of the heart tissue. So they had myocarditis, and what does that mean? It's certainly when we try to extrapolate data, we certainly want to at least utilize people who are similar in terms of their activity levels, similar in terms of their age, similar in terms of what their symptoms were. So it maybe wasn't as high as it was in the older population, but it's still there.
I think a great point that you made a few moments ago, that this is just, getting new data, getting information, and how to approach it. But I think your point about with mono and some of these other things, these are all, dealing with these type of situations are the norm. It's just figuring out what the best course of action is and how long it would take an athlete to come back from that. It's not saying an athlete couldn't come back from that. It's just figuring out, when we're trying to figure out how to bring folks back from mono to not be trying to go 100% too soon, this is the same thing, correct?
Exactly. So right now, the best guidance that we have comes from some international experts working along with some American sports medicine physicians, and it was published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine. What they looked at was what that return to play can look like. And at that point in time when they published that, they were looking at, you had to have 10 days since the onset of symptoms, 7 days being symptom-free, and off all medications related to the illness. And then from there, initiating a return-to-play protocol. And you've probably heard of those before. Anyone who has a concussion now goes through a 5-day return-to-play protocol. So very similar. This is a little bit more extended. It's a 7-day.
With the heart, do you have to monitor it to see that it's not swollen anymore, inflamed, like you said, that it's gotten back to its natural or
Yeah, no, that's a great question.
size or whatever,
So-
how you ever would define that or describe that?
Absolutely. Before initiating someone on a return to play protocol, you do want to ensure with a physical exam, having a consultation with a physician, that you don't have underlying myocarditis, because you're going to treat that differently. So assuming that they don't have any markers that are concerning for this heart condition and they're safe, then you determine that they're safe to return to play. That's when you start them on that return to play progression.
Protocol of so many days.
Exactly. A really nice thing to be able to look at when you're monitoring the heart is actually people's resting heart rate. A lot of us nowadays are our watches, we wear different devices, and they can monitor what is our heart rate like when we sleep, what is our heart rate like when we're doing normal activity as well as exercise. And we want to make sure that from a resting heart rate perspective, our heart rate can give us some information. Or is our heart working more than it normally would? Because that could be an indicator.
Rates?
Yeah, well, everyone's individual, right?
Okay.
So we know that triathlete, that ultra endurance runner, they can actually have heart rates into the 30s and 40s, and so long as they're asymptomatic, that's okay. My heart rate, it doesn't go that low, certainly. So it's very individual, which is kind of a nice thing about everyone having a lot of different remote monitoring devices that are monitoring that, figuring out what your baseline heart rate would be.
Yeah. We're going to go ahead and go to break real quick. Do you have some time to stick around? And
Absolutely.
We can continue the conversation. It's absolutely fascinating, and I also want to get to the Saturday morning injury clinics, because as we resume sports here in Polk County, we want to talk about that. So real quick, we're going to take a break. Hank and Neal will be right back here on Sports Central.
Thank you for being sweet. Thank you for being sweet.
being sweet.
Thank you for being sweet.
When you follow the 5 safety steps to slow the spread of COVID-19, you're not only protecting yourself, but you're protecting the heart and soul of Polk County, Florida's sweetest spot.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Sports Central. Neal, Duncan alongside Hank Longo, and some
Got
great
to work
footage
on my
there.
Releve during the break just to make sure I got it right. Doing pretty good, actually.
Nobody wants to see that. Hey, it is the lunch hour right now for us as we're coming to you live, and we want to thank this segment sponsor, Jimmy John's. Go down there in 2 locations in Lakeland. And everyone off camera is still laughing about Hank dancing, but we'll keep pushing through.
We'll make it.
We're back with Dr. Michelle Henne from Releve Sports Medicine. Thank you so much for staying over. We really appreciate it. We were talking about the return to play, and I know we don't have a whole bunch of time, but you got a unique opportunity earlier this year when UFC was coming back. No fans or spectators or anything like that, but you were actually a part of that, correct?
I was. So when UFC came back, the first state, it was very well publicized, the first state to allow sports to occur was Florida. So fortunately I was here and live here and work here in Polk County. So they were looking for certified ringside physicians, and I fit the part, and they reached out to me and said, hey, we'd really like for you to be involved as we have these.
That's got to be flattering, huh? Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Well, it's a source of pride for us. You look at the great physicians and the great medical providers we have in Polk County. This is a perfect example of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
so how did that work out? What happened?
It was definitely interesting. I think now we've probably adapted a little bit more so to the changes that have gone on. This was back in May, so it was the first thing back on ESPN. It was the only publicized live show. No one had anything to watch, so I think they had their highest viewership ever for those particular events, and they tested everybody in order to have. They had 3 events, and it was Saturday, Wednesday, and then Saturday. And to have those 3 events, they COVID tested everybody. So there was over 1,000 people that got COVID testing done. There was only a couple that actually came up positive at that time, and they happened to be all kind of part of one team, and so those folks weren't able to participate. But that was part of the process. Everyone was wearing masks. It was definitely interesting getting to hear the coaching occur. That's very different from normally being at one of these events.
And all that.
Oh my gosh, yes. It was eerie being in an entire arena, which is massive, and you can talk to the person sitting next to you.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What I was just going to say is that's unbelievable and a great opportunity. But as we pivot back to Polk County and talk about, FHSA came out last month saying there was going to be a return date of the 24th. Polk County said, well, let's have a couple days because that coincided with the first day of school in Polk County. Let's wait 2 days and do the 26th. So I know there's a couple of the private schools that are actually going to be in action tonight. I know Lakeland Christian is one of them. We're going to play their first football game there at Lakeland Christian, but this coming Friday, a week from today, Polk County sports are through FHSA and Polk County Public Schools are resuming. So with Friday night lights and Thursday evening volleyball and cross country and golf, come some bumps and bruises. So COVID aside, there's also the competition side of things where you can get some injuries and get some soreness. Let's talk about, as we only have a couple of minutes left, the Saturday morning injury clinics that you offer at your place of business.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have been doing Saturday morning injury clinics, and we've coordinated around the FHSAA football season. Why? Because Friday night you get hurt, and you know this. You've got a son who plays football. You don't want to sit in an ER. You leave the game at 10 o'clock. You don't want to sit in the ER till 4 in the morning, waiting to hear that there's no fracture. You need to follow up with somebody. Right. So we make that easy for you, where we become that one-stop shop. You come in Saturday morning. We can do the x-rays there if you need bracing or casting or crutches, all of those things, that whole plan. You walk in not knowing what's going on, you walk out with a plan, and who else wants to know? The coaches. Right, the coaches are going to be texting you as dad and say, Dad, is he going to be able to play Friday? When can we get him back on the field? He's a really critical part of this team, and so that kind of information can also be done more quickly.
Well, so you get hurt Friday night and you do get a broken bone. Mm-hmm. Do you just sit and wait till Saturday morning, or do you need to do something more in an emergency procedure then? But then you say you might have to wait till 4 in the morning.
Yeah, so certainly, sometimes people break bones and they're not sure about it, and so part of your question is, what means I should go and see somebody, and realistically, some of those indicators would be if there's swelling, if you have limping, if you have any component where you're suddenly not able to perform it at your 100%, those would be indicators that you do want to have a consultation done.
Well, I mean, if you get a real bad leg break and it's broken, do you just have that person demobilized for the evening until they can get to you in the morning versus trying to wait in a emergency?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we've had a couple of football guys in particular who have had pretty significant injuries. On the field, you can really discern, if their leg's going one way, their body's going another. If they're,
don't wait till Saturday.
Don't wait till Saturday morning. Go into the ER. Let's get this taken care of.
There's something wrong with me here. I don't know what it is, but something feels a little funny.
Exactly. Every now and then those show up, and we manage it, but
I dislocated my elbow jumping, and I came up out of that, my handle caught, and I got out, and my arm looked awful funny. And I go, this doesn't look quite right. But
that's probably not a wait till Saturday moment.
Nope, I just actually grabbed a hold of it and yanked on that baby, and popped, there it went, and I go, okay, thank God for that one. But
yeah, as we're running short on time, I do want to, what's the address, what's the location, what's a website, a phone number, just so folks at home, as we're getting ready for the season, have that information so they'll know how to get a hold of you.
Absolutely. So we are located right in front of Legoland. We are on Cypress Gardens Boulevard. It's 5535 Cypress Gardens Boulevard. We're upstairs. That's where Moe's, the wine bar, Jay Burns, in that building, Cypress Station. We're on the second floor, right by the elevator.
Beautiful building.
And then you can reach us on our website. You can actually schedule appointments on our website, and that's relevesportsmedicine.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We always appreciate you when you come in. There's so much information, and maybe next time it's 3 segments because there's so much more we could talk about. But Dr. Henne, thank you so much.
Very educational.
Absolutely, not a problem.
All right. Well, we are going to go to our athlete spotlight. Is Zachary Holman, and he actually was awarded multiple awards last year at the Polk County All Sports Awards, and he also won 3 Class 2A adaptive state titles. So let's take a look at Zachary and his accomplishments, and Hank and Neal will be right back here on Sports Central.
I was born with the birth defect called spina bifida. Sometimes when people look at us, they say, oh, you can't do all these things and you can't do this and that, but we really can. It's just you do it in a different way.
We learned that Zach was going to be coming to Frostproof Middle Senior High School as a 6th grader and knew that there was some adaptive opportunities for him inside of the track and field sport, that he could be able to compete in the district, regional, and state level. Being that we're a middle school, high school, it was a great opportunity for him to come and be able to participate all the way up through the state championships.
When I came here, one of the teachers told me about it, and so I just decided to come out and try it. And then when I came out, I really got hooked on it. It keeps me active and going and in shape and just active.
When I first was starting to coach Zach, I took the same approach as if I were to coach my regular athletes, with repetitions and basically training him with his stamina and getting him to try to get his times to get lowered by timing the repetitions that we would do on the track.
Yeah, we practice after school, and we just do a whole bunch of laps to keep my endurance going, and then we do starts to keep me fast starts, and then do some sprints and stuff like that. Well, Coach Wood, he got me started first. He, helped me get going, and he's a good coach, and I like him a lot. And then when my uncle came here, he's been a mentor and just helps me keep going and pushes me a lot.
When you go to a track meet and you're the only adaptive athlete there, that might be a difficult thing to be able to compete at a higher level at those kind of meets. But once he gets up to the state meet, he's able to find some competition there, as well as outside of the high school scene, where he can go like AAU or club track and adaptive track outside of the high school that he can compete in, that he'll find more competition at. But on the high school setting, high school level, that's probably one of the things that I saw the most.
Well, he definitely brings a fresh perspective, because I think he's facing the hardest battle, and that's coming out there every practice and still working hard. And that's an inspiration, because you're not beating somebody up for a spot. You're working hard to prove to yourself that you deserve to be out here. And there was plenty of days where we sat down and he talked and I talked, and he wants to be out here, and it's not easy. It's not easy to show up, sweat and bleed and shed some tears just to prove a point. But he's laying the foundation, he's laying that path so that next adaptive athlete comes out here and does the same thing. What I would love to see is that he is that trailblazer, that more schools have the adaptive programs. I'm a special education teacher, so I know there's plenty of special education and adaptive athletes already in the schools. I would love to see them out there next year.
When I go to meets, because I'm the only one that is in a wheelchair, I'm the only one that races on the track. I race by myself every meet until I get to state. For me, it's, just the willingness to keep going, because I don't have any competition all year, so it's hard to just keep going and, push yourself more. I look at all the, state records, and I push myself to try to beat them every year, and so it just keeps me going.
What I hear a lot too, and I think some people are like, oh, that's nice. It's not all that's nice. You don't say that about the sprinters. That's an athlete out there right there that could probably beat you in any other sport. He does it differently. So the misconception is good for him. It's not good for him. His times get better, his distance and throwing gets better, and that's his hard work. So I guess if somebody's watching him, don't feel sorry for him, because he was out there working as you were in the air condition enjoying your day off. Cheer him on, absolutely. It's all about inclusion. You walk through the hallways, you go to Publix, you see any of these things, people with disabilities all around. It makes us feel comfortable to kind of put them in a different category. When you see an athlete come out here that does it differently than everybody else, and he's good at it, it kind of makes you accept him and accept the next athlete. So when you see the other athletes competing, that are competing with disabilities, they're just like you and I. They're gonna have those stories, talking to their kids later on. Oh, I did this when I was younger, and I did it in 110-degree weather. So I think it's really important Any athlete out there that wants to come out, show what you got, show it. Make the sport bigger.
I would like to go to college after school and do track in college and hopefully get to the Paralympics too. I like sports, so I kind of want to be like a sports commentator or something like that.
If your school has adaptive athletes, get them out there. It's not easy and it's going to be a struggle, but they deserve it. You know, make them interested in school by getting them interested in after school.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the fourth and final segment of Sports Central. Neal Duncan alongside Hank Longo. This last segment brought to us by Office Furniture Depot. Great athlete, Zach.
Oh man,
just tremendous athlete.
You know, when you hang around athletes like that, their positive attitude and just to be around them, they are just so positive.
Yeah,
and
just a great kid.
Yeah, very much so.
Absolutely. Well, we mentioned earlier, alluded to it, that Polk County High School sports is going to resume, and they're back in action. They've been practicing, and coming up in the next week or so, they will return to the competition, the courts, the fields.
How are they going to do that with spectators? Are they letting any people in at some point?
Yeah, so it was just out yesterday, actually. The, of course, great partner of Tourism Sports Marketing, the Ledger Media Group, they reported, of course, Dan Talbot, Polk County Public Schools, put an enormous amount of effort into safety and health and safety and all those things. So to break it down, 50% capacity. That's, you know, football, volleyball, wherever. Masks will be required, potentially temperature checks, all those things. But they found a way to resume competition, which is very important for these youngsters. You know, having a high school senior myself and all those experiences. So very excited about that. But you can go to the Ledger website if you want to get more information on that plan. But again, 50%. Wearing face coverings, whether indoors or outdoors.
But they're playing.
They're playing. They're playing. Yeah,
we
that's
got
a
some
good
college
thing.
Football going on too, you know, which has kind of got these teams back in at it, and delighted for that. SEU versus Ave Maria at home Saturday at 7 p.m. So
yeah, that's September 12th. So not this not tomorrow, but
next
September
weekend.
12th at 7 p.m. And then Weber and Warner get started against each other.
Rivalry going.
Yeah, that'll be at Weber. That is Saturday, September 12th as well, and that's a 1:30 kickoff. Speaking of kickoff, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that season, that'll be the day after that, their first game of the season. Some news where they picked up Leonard Fournette.
That, you know, I'm surprising what went on there because he had such a good pick in the draft, you know, so he's a very talented guy.
I think he had some issues with his previous team in Jacksonville. They're still saying Ronald Jones is the feature back, so we'll see, but just another weapon there for Tom Brady. It seems so weird to say
Tom Brady,
Buccaneers and Tom Brady, but hey, we'll take it. Tampa Bay Rays, second best record in Major League Baseball. A lot of people thought that they had a chance. Of course, this is an abbreviated season, 60 games, anything can happen. But best record in the American League and second best only behind the Dodgers. So
hopefully they can keep that going and
hey, maybe in 2020
World Series.
Why not in 2020? Everything else has been so insane.
Why not?
World Series championship for the Rays?
Could be.
Maybe.
Could be. Maybe another Super Bowl.
And the
for
Lightning.
Bucks.
The Lightning looks like they're on their way to maybe you get a Super Bowl, a World Series title, and a Stanley Cup in the same year. But we got some sponsors.
We got some sponsors. We got to thank these folks: the Trophy Shop, Hampton Inn, Bartow, Harry's Seafood Bar and Grill, the Ledger, and Cleveland Heights Golf Club. Thank you all so much for your support here.
Absolutely, and of course we want to thank Kris Smith for coming on, Dr. Michelle Henne. They were a great guest here on Sports Central and really educating us in some uncharted territory. Maybe you didn't know about disc golf. Maybe you didn't know about the return to play. So we're excited about that. You can also tune into the radio version of Sports Central every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. on Talk 1430 and Talk 96.7. Of course, that's Thursdays at 5 p.m. You can also go to centralfloridasports.com for a full listing of events going on in Polk County, or give us a call at 863-551-4750. Or Hank, the next live version of Sports Central will come right here on PGTV September 18th. But until then, you can watch re-airings of this show But Hank, just a strange time that we're in, but great information today, and we appreciate both of our guests.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
All right, for Hank Longo, this is Neal Duncan. We'll see you again next time.